Okay.
There we go. We're both here.
There we
We're all here.
go. All right. Welcome. Welcome. How you guys doing today?
Oh,
Doing well.
God.
What about you guys?
I am
Doing
blessed.
good. let me just, because this is our first time doing this, I want to know from someone in the audience down in the comments, does this look the same for everybody? Because what I'm seeing is me on top, I'm seeing chocolate botanist on the lower left, and I'm seeing gray on the lower right. Is that what everybody else is seeing?
I hope so, because I'm also seeing the same thing.
Okay, all right.
I
Okay,
am.
good. All right. So, welcome to the show, guys. We were just doing a live last week. We kind of all sort of bumped into each other along the way. I've known Gray for a good little while now, and I believe Gray has met Chocolate Botanist previously. So, we decided that this would be a great opportunity for us to, present something because we had a great conversation last week and we were answering questions. We were talking for, I felt like an hour and a half or something like that. And I just thought that it was just so, I think Gray's frozen or
Gray must
something.
have left because I don't see him anymore.
Okay, I see his picture
Oh,
there.
you
All right, let me see.
still see him?
I see his picture.
There we
All right, let me invite him
go.
again.
You might, if you still see that old one, you might have to kick it off by there. You
There we
go. Bingo.
I'm back.
Okay, cowboy hat. If I had known he was going to be wearing hats, I would have put mine on.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that. Internet is funny out
yeah,
here.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
So anyway, so basically the show is all about us sort of talking about gardening and answering your questions. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. So, Chocolate Botanist, I'll let you go first. We'll go a beauty before age. So you're the youngest.
Yes,
You're the
I
you're the
am.
baby of you're the baby of the bunch.
You
So
don't know
go
how
ahead and
old
tell
I
the people
am. You
about
have
yourself.
no clue. You have no clue how old I am. I could be 87 for all you know with some just for men hair care. You can get you a good get or die, some Clairol. Okay, like my great grandmother used to say, long as there was Clairol on the market, she would
Hey,
never
I
be gray.
earned my gray. I'm keeping my gray.
You keep yours, but I'm not going to keep mine. My stuff is going to be gone. I am Derek. Hello, everyone, the chocolate botanist. I am here in Zone 8, formerly Zone 7, in North Carolina. I like long walks on the beach. I don't know what we were supposed to say. I love a good slicer tomato. Somebody asked that earlier in the conversation. And what I would love for you all to do, the 40 or so of you watching, is to use that paper airplane and share this out. Because how often do you get this much talent and excellence up here? Because if you don't share this person that said, I'm not going to share it, all your plants going to die. Go ahead, I'm done.
Thank
And
you.
I am Graylin Brown. A lot of folks know me as Urban Gardening with Gray. And a lot of you have coined me either the Bob Ross or the Mr. Rogers of gardening, just because I always present everything with a nice, kind demeanor because I'm a nice person. I can't help it. But I'm over here in Dallas, Texas. I'm Zone 8B, but originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So every once in a while, you'll hear a little bit of that Creole accent start to kick in.
All right. Well, I am Andrethefarmer, and I am in Orlando, Florida. I am probably I've probably been gardening for the least out of everybody here. I've only been doing this for about 8 years. I'm more of a tree guy than anything else. Fruit trees. I'm all about edible plants. I'm not really that big into the ornamentals, but I know we have a few people that do know about ornamentals on the bottom over there, so they will help you out with that. I guess I'm not the. I guess Gray's the good guy. Are you the bad guy, Derek? Are you the bad guy? And I'm
I,
I'm the in between.
you let them tell it on the social media, and they call me everything, including bad guys. Actually, the nicest thing I've been called in the last month. So I'm here for it.
All
Well, we
right,
can't
all
call
right.
ourselves the good, the bad, and the ugly, so we'll say the good, the bad, and the talented.
I'll be the ugly. I'll be the ugly. I'm all right with that. So, I know that we wanted to talk about something specific. Guys, in the comments, if you have any gardening questions, anything that you want to talk about, we'll talk about it. Once we get on to a topic, we're probably going to be talking about that topic. We won't be able to answer every single question that pops up. But what I'll do is I'll make a mental note of the questions or I'll write the questions down. And when we get time or a break or we switch topics, that's when we can answer the questions, guys. Okay. But I believe the topic that we were going to talk about was basically like organic versus not organic, GMO versus non-GMO, heirloom, hybrid, all the things that people are often confused about. Now, one thing about this show is I think we have three very evidence-based people. So you're not going to hear a lot of you'll hear a lot of debunking of a lot of the mythology around gardening, around food specifically, because I feel we're in an era that is sort of the golden era of misinformation.
Oh God.
And that is what I think all three of us try to fight against. And I'll tell you what, I've been guilty of misinformation in the past, but I don't double
Oh yeah.
down on it. I accept it and I change. And if new evidence is presented, you've got to have a new pathway and a new way of thinking. So, yeah. So, who wants to lead it off here? What's the
Well,
deal?
I I want to take the reins, so to speak, because I did a video a while back and I got a lot of slack about it, and I was talking about the difference between seedless watermelons and genetically modified, because the question was posed to me, hey, seedless watermelons, they're all genetically modified. Like, no, that's not genetic modification. I mean, because you go to your grocery store, let's look at it from a financial standpoint. If I'm genetically modifying a fruit, how much profit, how much is it going to cost me to genetically modify this fruit and then to sell it for you for $10? That's really bad, vehicle for investments, right? And so I did this video where I kind of explained and talked about the fact that a seedless watermelon, and somebody just said it in the comments. Yes, a seedless watermelon is essentially just a mule. It's a sterile
Right.
watermelon. And,
Right.
and it comes from, not ancient, but old practices.
Mhm.
Essentially just taking a Punnett square and you're taking the DNA of two different watermelons. One that has two chromosomes, the other one has two chromosomes. And by cross-pollinating, you essentially breed the
Wait.
seeds out. That doesn't make it genetically
Well,
modified.
I'll tell you what, I did a little bit of research on this one particular thing, and it's actually a tetraploid um, watermelon with a regular diploid watermelon. So you get a triploid with three sets of chromosomes. And because it has three sets of chromosomes, it's not going to make seeds. And it will make vestigial seeds, but it won't make mature seeds.
Right.
Okie dokie. Well, you know what? I guess I'll jump in here because I love people that do their research. Because let me tell y'all how scientific y'all are touching my little scientist heart right here. So when we think of a seedless watermelon, and we're thinking of something that's seedless versus a hybrid versus a genetically modified organism versus like an heirloom, right? I try to tell people like this. So like Josie said up here, when you come to a seedless watermelon, a seedless fruit, it is a mule. It is like some of the people that we know who are seedless, who are not able to produce progeny. There's nothing wrong with those people. They just are physically incapable of making children, just like in the watermelon space. So like Andre said, typically in the world of chromosomes, you have a even number. That's the whole thing about reciprocity, like Lauren Hill said in that one song. You have an even number. And when you have an odd number, things get odd, things get oft, and you can't reduce seeds. Okay, how many of you remember meiosis and mitosis? Meiosis, you're pulling an even number of chromosomes apart. And when they don't match, okay, you go out looking like Steve Urkel, and nobody wants that. So that's the seedless watermelon. When it comes to genetically modified, we are taking a gene from an unrelated entity and we're putting it in. So this is like if I just went to some of y'all's family reunion, you gonna know that I'm not the person that's there. I'm Southern. I could go to Andre's and try to blend in, but I'm North Carolina through and through. They gonna know I'm not necessarily his people. And that's part two. And lastly, when it comes to like the hybrids and the heirlooms, heirlooms are just a variety that we've just been recreating for a long time. I think to be an heirloom, it has to be longer than 10 years or something like that. And don't quote me though. And then hybrid is just taking two related species and just blending them together. So that is that. When you have something that's non-GMO versus heirlooms, as I see in the comments here, there's a lot of different ways that people will try to blend these all together. But basically, something can be non-GMO and not be an heirloom. I could just grow my own seeds that were not genetically modified, right? Nobody did it, but it's still not an heirloom. It's just a regular old tomato that I put some salt on.
Now, let me add one thing. You are never going to get GMO seeds in the store. The dollar store, Home Depot, Lowe's, they don't have GMO seeds. Like, you have to
Not
pay a
yeah.
lot to get a GMO seed. So you're not getting it for $1 on the clearance rack at the dollar store. No. So when they say non-GMO on the package, that's just marketing. That's just to get you to buy them.
Yeah, and you can buy, so and not yet, you can not get them in the store. There's a company called Norfolk Produce. They are doing the purple genetically modified tomato. And that tomato is like purple all the way through. It's a cherry tomato. You can buy those online. I don't believe they're for sale in any store yet, but you can purchase those, which are the only genetically modified seed that home gardeners can grow.
Right. So don't be afraid of where you got your seed from, is because you might think that you think they're genetically modified. They're not. They're not
Right.
GMO seeds.
Yeah.
Now, someone asked, does it change the nutrition of the watermelon if it has seeds versus no seeds? And this is where a lot of misinformation is spun about.
Mhm.
Who wants to to beat
Well,
this one?
I'll say this. One thing I always say in all of my videos is that I am not a nutritionalist. That is not my background. I did not go to school for that. I didn't study it. But I can tell you the vitamin count that's usually in a seed. I always say this because, I don't want to get into that gray area of trying to give you medical advice. I'm not a medical professional. So, I don't want to give you wrong information. But I can tell you, as far as taste wise, I mean, seedless watermelon. I had both. They both taste great. But I can't tell you specifically that, nutritional value. I don't know the makeup of that. I'm not a nutritionist. So that's why I'm going to say I can't give you that information because I only want to give you stuff that I know is 100% true.
So I do a ditto to that, but I try to science it out and think about it. So seeds are typically fiber. I had to look this up because at one point the people was tearing me down about seedless watermelon and they want seedless fruit. They don't want seedless fruit because if it's not a seed, somebody in the comments even said it like, I want to be able to produce my own plants. And I try to tell people like, if you got a seedless grape, you are not going to go and grow a grapevine on your patio. Stop it. But you, but when it comes to nutrition, while I am not a nutritionalist, seedless fruit can still have seeds that are just not viable. So they still would have pretty much comparable everything except for potentially fiber. And even then, there are some seedless fruits we're getting that were just harvested early.
Right.
So they don't have the fiber content, but they still have the overall nutrition because
And
it
that
is a
fiber
ripened over.
content is really just if you're a watermelon seed eater. Like,
Yeah.
if you're spitting out the seeds anyways, then you're not getting that additional fiber.
I mean, I might be like, ha, 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 eating them seeds. Who knows?
But the other thing too is, and I feel like too many times people think that, like, because let's say one thing has got 10% more nutrients than another thing, that the thing with 10% less is just a bad thing, right?
Mm,
Like, just eat 10% more. Like, right? Like, if it's that important to you, eat an extra slice of watermelon and you're gonna be perfectly fine. Um, and someone said, why would I want something without seeds to plant? Like, I don't feel like the vast majority of people plant the majority of seeds that they eat in fruits. Like, I'm a gardener and I very rarely like buy a fruit and say, I'm planting these seeds. Like, I don't buy apples and say, oh, I'm gonna go plant some apple trees.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it happens that often.
Yeah. Well, think
people just want to be
about it
upset.
like Cavendish bananas, right? Cavendish bananas, the most widely produced banana in the world. They're bred to be seedless. I mean, you've never seen any seeds in them. And honestly, if you got a seeded banana, you probably wouldn't care for it because they're packed with seeds. You've had some, right, Andre?
They will be small, bitter, and full of seeds the size of marbles.
Yeah.
And they're hard. And that's where a lot of people don't that's where a lot of people just don't like. I think some people are like, I want to have the opportunity or the luxury to plant my own seeds. But because we don't have a connection to where our food comes from and what climate really is, we don't know. In North Carolina, for example, you're not going to be able to grow a citrus tree all year long outside in the ground. You're going to have to bring it in now. There's one you can grow, but the fruit tastes like nothing good. You are not going to be able to grow your avocado and get your pit out all year long. Some of you probably wouldn't do the watermelon anyway, Because how many of us have had watermelons with tons of seeds, and yet you've not gone out to the ground and threw it in there and covered it up with some black cap? Like that's where I think some people are like, I just want to have the option, or they view it as wrong.
Right.
But in the same way that we have a whole adoption system for humanity, there is a whole foster care system for humanity for people who cannot have children. That is a thing that is realistic for whatever reason. People who are physically incapable of having children, we have that backup there. Is the same way that you can go to a Dollar Tree or your local library to a seed bank and get seeds often for free.
Yeah. Now,
Yes.
I have a question. Now, this is angled really more towards Derek, because of your background being in botany and everything. So, with that being said, is all GMO bad then?
I don't think any GMO is bad implicitly. And I know some people are going to be ready to come to my door with pitchforks. Please don't. I carry a bat. But when it comes to what GMO, I'm just kidding. I don't carry a bat. I carry two. When it comes to genetically modified organisms, they are beneficial because they can help to fight hunger and starvation, because we can make plants that could grow with less fertilizer, less water, in worser climates, because we're just going to worse in hell in a handbasket, right? We can do that. We can make plants that are more nutritious, like golden rice that had vitamin, I think, K or A in it, one of those two, right? That's part two. Part three, we can just make it where we can like spray Roundup and pesticides and not have to worry about our plants getting rough, or they produce their own pesticide like BT corn, and it's not producing a pesticide, like it's not producing Raid to kill you, but it's producing something that only hurts insects and it stops them. Thank you, Josie. Vitamin A for the golden rice, but it's something that helps the insects. But it can be bad only in the sense of depending what corporations are doing to farmers, because I don't like that where they are saying, hey, you got to pay me tons of money, like farmers are rolling in dough. And the other part is there is some potential for like an environmental like leak. So like if we had like corn that was Roundup ready and it could basically be sprayed with Roundup or herbicides and not die, that gene could potentially go out into the environment. But outside of that, and that's like environmentalism and ethics,
Mm-hmm.
it's just people are afraid because people online have done a great job of just running a misinformation machine.
Well,
But I feel like, so go ahead, Greg.
no, I'm just gonna make a quick point to that because I know you guys might not play video games. My son is 6 years old, so I play video games with him, and we played the Spider-Man game.
Okay.
And I gotta tell you guys, I love this game because I love its attention to detail and attention to science. Because truth be told, what brought me over to my love of science is Spider-Man when I was a child reading Spider-Man. Now, granted, I know it's a work of fiction, of course, but I digress. So we're playing this Spider-Man game, and the protagonist, Peter Parker, he gets the opportunity to work at a nonprofit where he is actually genetically modifying plants. And he was doing exactly what you said, Derek. He was genetically modifying for soil conditions, for drought conditions, for better produce and harvest. I was like, oh my goodness, more people need to play this game because we can see that, no, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because it's being modified, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's just a tool and it can be in the right hands or the wrong hands. I think sometimes people confuse the corporate sort of behavior or how corporations are using it with the actual tool, right?
Mhm.
It's like a hammer, right? Like hammer can be build houses. A hammer can also do some bad things to a person, right? But you don't be mad at hammers, like and sometimes I tell people like the people that live up north, like if I could make a mango tree, if I could take a gene from an apple tree, put it into a mango tree, and give you a mango tree that you can grow in New York, would you not eat the mangoes from that tree because it was genetically modified?
Some people wouldn't because
A
they're
lot of people would.
afraid.
A ton of people wouldn't. He said, I was doing my pepper sauce at the show the other day, and a lady came by and she was like, "Oh no, I don't eat anything processed." I said, "Oh no, it's all ingredients that you know. It's all just vegetables and fruits."
Mhm.
And she's like, "No, but it's processed." I said, let me ask you a question. If you take vegetables and you put them in a blender, it's processed, right? She goes, yeah, and I wouldn't eat that. I'm like, what? I'm like, what? I'm like, what? and then she was like, I go, but everything in here is natural ingredients. She goes, there's a preservative in there. I said, the preservative is lime juice. She goes, did you squeeze the limes? Like, at this point, I
There's
was
some
like, all
people
right.
who want to be disappointed. There's some people who are afraid because, again, like the education system in America is terrible to a certain extent, and we don't have the ability to really teach people science. And I think there's some people who, again, they learn this misinformation from the Dr. Sebiites, the alkaline
Oh
plant
my
community,
God.
and all these people, and they get the things and they say it's all this, and they believe those people who have no information, who have no education, not to say only people with accredited degrees are people you should get information from, but these people who just talk out the side of their neck, they are giving you something out their rear end
Right.
in their toilet,
And
and
of
you take it
course,
and you believe it.
yeah, and of course, they have the solution for the problem, right?
Of course,
And
and
it
it's like,
costs a lot
hey,
of
what?
money, but they have the solution.
Yes, you buy the pills, the books, the
The,
medication.
the
You subscribe to
the
my
snake
class,
oil, right?
and it's the snake
Exactly.
oil from snake people.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because speaking of science and being a previous teacher, being a former educator, you know, I taught automotive technology because, truth be told, I'm actually an automotive technician. I was actually just working on the engine right before I jumped into the podcast here.
Mm.
Um, I actually used to teach thermodynamics to my automotive students. Now, do I have to? Was it in my specific curriculum? But no, I wanted them to know the basis of where energy comes from. Because energy, as we know, is neither created nor destroyed. But I would go through the first three laws of thermodynamics with them. One year, I even made ninth graders, 14-year-olds, I made them make a rap about thermodynamics. And they loved my class. So they are willing to learn. It's just being in the education system and how it is, it's hard to reach every student, but all my kids called me Uncle Brown because they knew I always cared. And that's the most important thing. And, with that being said, guys, what we do here, I think the reason why we have the follower counts that we have and why people tune into us is because they know we care about them as growers and we're trying to give them all the best that we got from us. You know
let,
what I mean?
let me ask you this question. So, O'Mullerin said his Spanish limes or Momosilos tree is sparingly blooms but never gives fruit. I believe it needs a second tree. I have met a lot of people that have grown them. They've had a hard time getting them to fruit in the United States, but it's also called Guinip or Guinipa. Um, I believe it needs a second tree. I have one tree, it's a small one, but I don't have really any plans of it producing fruit. I'm just sort of growing it as a novelty.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Mm.
going to back that up. I want to say you need to get a second fruit tree in there.
And
Yeah.
let's
Great
see.
question.
Yeah. Someone else had a question there. They talk about processing. Like that's a lot of times people misunderstand what the word processed means. There's different levels of processing food. Everything's processed once you cook it or wash it or bag it or grind it up or dry it out. But there's a difference between processed and highly processed. And the thing is, something can be highly processed and it can still be fine, right? Like it can be, like a protein bar or something like that that's highly processed, but it's processed in a positive way. The problem is the majority of highly processed foods are going to be high in sugar, high in calories, and not have a lot good for you. So it's sort of a rule of thumb, but I think people get too caught up in the oh, this is processed, I can't eat it, or this has a chemical in it, I can't eat it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny because when I met my wife, she was a vegetarian when I met her, and I slowly became vegetarian as well, but pescatarian. And when I met her, she told me, she said, I'm a vegetarian, but I'm a bad vegetarian. I was like, what's that? I never heard of that. And she said, oh, well, I do all the processed foods. I was like, well, you're in luck. I'm from Louisiana and I know how to cook. So we don't have to do all that stuff. But with that being said, the processed stuff isn't bad, but it's something just like anything in life you need to do in moderation. Because one of my fellow educators, he was trying to change his diet. And I'd introduced him to a burger patty. I'm not going to say the name because I'm not trying to give him bad press. But he was like, hey, I want to change my diet. And so I made some of those burger patties. And he was like, oh, man, this is fantastic. This is just like Whataburger. I could just eat these every day. I was like, no, you can't. These things are super high in sodium, dude. You will have a heart attack. I was like, do it in moderation. Maybe once a month, once every 2 weeks or so. But no, don't eat these every day. They're good, but they're not that good.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so much is about moderation, and I think that when people start growing their own food, I think that automatically your diet's going to be better because you're going to have more options and more things to eat, and that's what I love about growing food.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the
I did.
peace that comes with it too. I mean, being out in the garden for me, with my kids, picking our own strawberries, picking our own blueberries.
Oh,
That's what I love about it. It's
that's
the love and the family time we get from it. For me,
oh,
so I'm a
that's
family
so
guy.
beautiful.
I'm a sap.
Listen, I always say life is about having things to look forward to. And before I started gardening, I would look forward to my fishing trips or my hunting trips or going to play basketball or playing golf, whatever. But when you have a garden, you look forward to every single day because every single day you're going to discover new things in your garden. So it's like you go to bed excited to wake up the next morning. And I feel like if you don't have anything to be excited for in the future, like I don't know what you're there for at that point.
I know I don't.
Yeah, yeah. Like I got some volunteers the other day. I was walking through my garden, and I rotate my crops like every season. That's overkill, yes, but I rotate every season. And I was looking at one of my beds. I'm growing some cucumbers, and boom, I have new tomatoes growing there. Like, oh, these got to come out of there because they can't go together. But it's always a surprise, like you said, and I love it.
Wait, cucumbers and tomatoes can't go together?
No, they start competing for nutrients.
Oh, dang.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah,
I
yeah,
got some volunteer tomatoes, and they're huge, and they're in the bed where I planted the cucumbers. I'm gonna have to just extra feed that.
yeah. Give it some extra feed. Give it some extra fertilizer. It should be okay. But yeah, they just start a competition.
Okay, as a first timer, what type of soil do you need? Do you use beds versus in the ground? Um, who wants to take that one?
All right.
Great, you're the soil guy. You're the soil
I'm the
guy.
I
soil
mean,
guy.
yeah, because
All
I
right.
don't
I
grow
love,
in these
yes.
rows.
So I'm all about soil. I always start with the soil. So as far as which type of means of gardening, whether you do beds or whether you do directly in soil, that's going to be dependent on how much. It's going to be dependent on what works best for you. That's what I always say. Because if you're going to plant directly in the ground, maybe you might want to do a soil test first. Now, this can be done through your local ag extension, and it's not free, but it's really cheap. It's like $25 or so. Do a soil sample, a soil test, so you can see exactly what kind of soil you're dealing with. Uh, and if you have good, viable, fertile soil, I would say go directly in ground if you have to. That way, you're keeping your costs low. But now, if you want to go with raised beds, you can totally go with raised beds. It is going to be more of an upfront cost, though. Now, there are ways that you can build your own, so that's still going to cost you because that's going to be a little sweat equity. So you really got to figure out what works best for you when it comes to your means of growing. But now, as far as your soil, you want something for the most part. Most of the things that we grow in our garden are going to like a well draining, slightly acidic soil. So long as you have that, something that well drained, so it means that water can actually seep down through it, and it's slightly acidic, which most of your soil is going to be, you'll be just fine. Now, of course, you may have to make your amendments depending on what specific things you're growing, like if you're doing blueberries or strawberries and so forth. But most of the things we like, most of the things we grow are all going to be slightly acidic with well-drained soil, and that'll be your best start.
Yep.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, so much depends on your region. Like here in Florida, growing in the ground is not super easy. You can do it with a lot of amendment, but it's easier to have raised beds here for most people.
Right, because you have a lot of sand in your soil, right? And clay.
Yes, it's all sand. It's just pure sugar sand, pretty much the whole thing.
Uh,
Yeah. See,
uh,
what about you, Derek? How's the soil like out there?
so it's different depending on where you are. So here in Durham, it's clay and rock. It's just demonic hell rock that you can't break and you find everywhere you go. And if you do manage to dig through the clay, if it's rained long enough and soaked in, you're good to go. In the coast where I'm from, it's very sandy loam. So sandy, but with some organic matter in it and some clay, but very sandy. Either of those ways, and I grow on my patio, so I don't grow in ground right now. I've helped other people set it up. I'm always for a raised bed just because I feel like you can do less with more. And you can have more control over your bed. Still doing what, Gray and them said, getting you a soil test, getting a good understanding of what's going on in your soil and what you need. But I'm always for a raised bed. I will do raised beds forever and ever.
Yeah, I'm a raised bed guy too as well. I wish I lived in a place where I didn't need raised beds. I do have a little mini garden in Mexico, and there I don't think I need raised beds. It's all rock, but it's like the most nutrient-rich rock you've ever seen in your life. You could drop a seed on the rock, and it's going to be a tree in like 2 days. Um, it's pretty crazy down there. But someone asked about the companion planting, and I know you mentioned about basil. And my understanding with a lot of the companion planting for pest repellents is not even so much that, like, let's say that the pests hate the basil. It's that when a pest is looking for something to key in on, it's going by scent and sight as well. But it's looking, let's say it's looking for broccoli, right? It's looking for the scent, or it's a cabbage worm moth or whatever, and it's looking for cabbage. It's going to smell a patch of cabbage. But if you've got cabbage and then you've got an onion next to it, and you got basil over here, and you have rosemary behind it, you have so many scents that it will probably never find that cabbage in the first place. And it's so much easier to have a pest never find your stuff than to deal with it after it's found it.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. Yes. Essentially, what you're doing is you're making almost like the plant invisible to them because you're masking it with all these scents.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, someone asked, what soils do you put in your raised beds?
Oh, so now this is actually a sponsor of mine. But before they became a sponsor, I had been using them for years. I always say they were my secret weapon. And it's a company by the name of Living Earth. I love Living Earth because their soil is made right here in Texas from trees and debris and soil that's right here in my backyard. So it's Texas native soil. So I love Living Earth. That's what I go with.
Do they ship all over the country, or are they local?
They are local to Texas and Tennessee. I'm trying to speak with them about actually doing a lot more shipping. But yeah, local to Texas and
Yeah.
Tennessee right now.
I guess shipping soil would kind of be expensive. It's just heavy, you
Heavy
know.
weight.
And
Yeah.
by the time you ship it, I don't know if you can be competitive in cost. You know.
Right. Because right now, a bag of Living Earth 2 cubic foot mulch is like $3.99. It's like the cheapest mulch. Not mulch, excuse me, compost. The compost, it's
That
like cheapest
is
compost I can
so
get.
That is
good.
Yeah.
amazing.
That
So
is
yeah,
actually really
right.
good. I think it's
But
like
so
$8, $9 for a bag of soil out here.
yes.
My God, I need to move out to Texas.
Yeah, so when they reached out to me, I was like, dude, I love you. Y'all are my favorite.
Wow. And do you make your own compost? Do you compost?
I do compost as well. But you know, I'm married, and there's only so many things aesthetically I can do on my land before my wife will be like, no, 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 no. So I can't do the massive compost piles because one, I live in a densely wooded area. So when you're creating those compost piles, it's going to start inviting a lot of your pests. I mean, I'm talking about your four-legged pests walking around, rats, rodents,
Yeah.
possums, raccoons, all of the above. And so I don't like doing the large piles, one, because my wife won't let me, and then two, because all the pests that that'll bring around. So when I do compost, I compost directly in my raised beds. I actually have like a produce crate or milk crate that I actually do all my compost right in my bed. And I do what's called a vermicomposting. So the earthworms, as they're passing through these milk crates, they're passing all of those good earthworm castings throughout the rest of the garden. Now, the reason why I do that is because I'm constantly on the go. I'm always moving. So I can grab that, fresh cut produce, toss it down in there, give it a quick turn, hit it with the hose real quick, and keep on moving. I'm not spending hours composting.
Yeah. I like those in bed composting ideas. I think that I definitely do that. Someone asked about, I've heard this before, Bukashi?
Bokashi.
Bokashi.
So
Does anybody know anything
Bokashi is
about that?
I know all about that. I have like a couple of buckets going in this house. So Bokashi is actually what I use in my soil machine in this house. I do a lot of things in this house, and because I'm not married and I'm not with anybody, I can do whatever I want. It's the most freeing thing in the world because when I was in a relationship, let me tell you, that was a point of contention. Why does my house smell like this? Is what I used to hear. I've gotten very good at masking scents. So Bokashi is a composting technique. So most composts, vermicompost or something like that, or typical compost, are going to be aerobic situations, meaning they're happening in the air, aerobic in the air. right? You have some earthworm, some microbe, some small animal breaking it down, eating things up, and turning it into the compost that we know and love. Somebody's insects or something like that. But with Bokashi, it is an anaerobic, no air, limited air situation, meaning that you put it in a closed container, and the setup is a little more intensive, but and it's not intensive, but I don't feel like going super deep into it right now. Maybe we'll talk about it later in another episode. But you basically can ferment and compost not just regular vegetable food scraps, but also oil, milk, and meat. So
Mm.
Bokashi, Bokashi. You get the powder, you can get a setup and buy it all. If you're cheap like me, you can make a lot of the stuff yourself and you can literally go from there. Now, oil, I'm not telling you to empty your whole car's oil pan into there. You do a couple of teaspoons every so often or tablespoons every so often,
Or
but
like, yeah,
over
cooking
time,
oil, like used
yeah,
cooking oil,
cooking
maybe.
oil, yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could do like motor oil, but use cooking oil because motor oil has other
Yeah.
stuff in it, and you don't want those
I
heavy
don't
metals. So
want
since
to do
you're
more
mixing things
more.
fast, but it eventually breaks all that stuff
Right.
down because like
That's true.
microbes breaking stuff down into base components. It still means heavy metals will be present, but it's breaking things down into base components. So I've used it in here for a couple of years, and I have that and a couple of revived failed vermicomposting also going on in this apartment.
Nice.
Nice,
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you for that. That is awesome. And someone in the comments even said can break down bone. That's amazing. I love that.
It is. So it can
Andre,
be
you got any bodies you need to get rid of? No, I'm kidding.
I'm not. You could definitely do it with. I'll tell y'all some secrets later. But Bokashi is amazing stuff. And again, it's not like regular compost, so you just can't put it on top of your soil because it's not going to look like broken down brown stuff. But you bury it in, and then it's amazing. And I've made some phenomenal soil mixes because I make all my own soil mixes, and I made some phenomenal soil mixes using that stuff. It's amazing. It's about a 2-week process once you fill up the bucket.
Okay, nice. Someone just asked how long. Perfect. Now, someone was asking a question about the soil. Can you use Texas soil in New Jersey? I don't think it makes a huge difference, but I just think it's so much easier to get local soil. You're gonna have the local biome. You're gonna have. I just feel it's just a better option. Like I don't think it would be anything bad because a lot of times when you get soil from like the big box stores or whatever, you don't know where that soil is coming from. It could have come from China for all you know. It's coming from. It's not coming from your neighborhood. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
plus when
you
you're
want.
buying it from sometimes from the big box stores too, you don't know how long it's set in a warehouse, how long it's set on a shelf. Yeah. So if you can get your own native local soil, that I would think would be the cheapest option and the best option for you.
Yeah, and nurseries are a great place to get it, but sometimes you have to buy it in bulk, and you need to have a truck or you need to have it delivered. So some of it's not super easy. And if you're doing small time stuff like or smaller gardens, then yeah, get a bag of soil. But if you're trying to do bigger scale things, you definitely want to look at trying to get it in bulk. One of the question here was, do we use diatomaceous earth? I know I do.
I
I do.
have.
Yeah. Diatomaceous earth, yeah. Because someone was just asking me recently about pill bugs on YouTube. They were
Mhm.
asking me about roly polies. And they said, "Hey, can I use diatomaceous earth?" I was like, "Yes, you can," because they had. Now, let me give you some forewarning. It was an infestation because I know a lot of people will tell me and hang me out to dry, like, "Oh no, roly polies are so beneficial to the soil." This is true, but they're also omnivores. So when you have an infestation of them, they will eat whatever is around, including your berries and so forth. So they had an infestation. I told them, yes, you can use diatomaceous earth with your roly polies, but do take in mind that pill bugs are crustaceans. They're not really an insect. So it's hit or miss when it comes to the pill bugs for me. I like
Ooh,
just taking like a wet, like take a cardboard box and kind of dampen the inside of it, place it where your infestation is. And just like with earthworms, how they're attracted to the wet cardboard, so are those roly polies because they're trying to break that carbon down. Take them, collect them, throw them somewhere else in the yard, and kind of relocate them.
that's
That's
good.
what I
Don't
like to
hurt
do.
them. Don't hurt them. Please don't hurt them. Please don't hurt the pill
Someone
bugs.
that
But
said,
yeah,
um, just started using Surround WP. What is that? On my citrus. Seems to be a game changer um, to keep the pests off. What's your guys' opinion? What is Surround WP? Do you guys know what that
if
is?
that's a pesticide, I've not heard of that one.
No, I'm not familiar with that one as well. What's the active ingredient in it? Because usually,
I wish I had.
yeah, if we had like the active ingredient or whatever you're using, we're
Yeah.
probably more familiar with that because
Okay.
I don't know the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have my computer near me.
Ernie Bernie, what's the best and most permanent way to get rid of fire ants? We deal with fire ants a lot here. You probably do over there too. And they are the worst because a lot of times you don't realize that you're in fire ants until there are 1,000 of them are on you. And then it's go, and they all sting you at the same time.
Yes.
But I've used diatomaceous earth. Sometimes I just drown them out if they're in a part of my bed. I will constantly water that area, and eventually they'll get sick and tired of being flooded, and they'll move. Boiling water, instant grits, uncooked instant grits. Apparently they eat it and they swell up. I haven't tried that one yet. We don't have grits in our house, so
I've heard about that, but I've heard it was the old school grits.
old school grits.
Mm.
Yeah, like
Okay.
the older, but I've seen it done, but I just don't know if they were just like, ooh, no season. I don't know.
Like, see, I don't know if, if it would be that. I feel like every ant has to eat some of this. Like, I feel like, I don't know, that's going to, I don't know, but people swear by it. Um,
They do.
yeah, the boiling water, I think, is a good one, too. I think that's going to probably cause some havoc.
Shout out
There's a
to Texas
pesticide I've
A&M. Sorry,
used.
somebody was referencing Texas A&M. That's being a master gardener. That's actually who we're part of, Texas A&M. So thank you for mentioning that. P.
Yes,
Frisch.
yes, the people. So there's a pesticide I've used before to get rid of, and it was a granular pesticide I've used before to get rid of fire ants. But as with anything, check with your local cooperative extension to be like, hey, what pesticides are in my area? What could I use? And especially if you have like children in your yard or animals. I don't have either. I'm in a different situation than a lot of people. But if you do have animals and children running around in your yard, or like kids tend to play in your yard, then you may want to be more wary of what you put down, so you don't accidentally impact negatively somebody
Right.
else.
And also, it depends on whether you're doing this on your lawn or whether you're doing it in a garden bed where you're trying to grow food.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's true.
yeah, that's going to be the deciding factor. Now, someone asked a question here. What are the three easiest fruits or vegetables to grow? All right, what do you guys think?
The ones that you like to eat, that's the ones that are easiest to grow. Because if you love it, then you'll be great. If I know there are things that go quick, but if somebody said cilantro is the easiest thing to go, if cilantro tastes like soap to me, that's not going to work. The things that you love, that you are enjoying, that you love to say yum yum yum, you look at a big list and you say these are the things I'm gonna grow. I usually try to tell people an herb, a fruit or a vegetable, and a flower, something that can look at you. But some people, I just say all herbs, do all these herbs. You cook all the time, cook, get a couple of herb plants. You keep them. Oh my God, I'm so excited. You feel like you won. You tell everybody, you tell your neighbors, you're cooking with your own stuff. So getting that win and using something you love teaches you and gives you that ease.
I couldn't have said it better. That's
Yep.
perfect. Yeah.
Yep. Early wins. Early wins are big. So when people ask me like what should I start growing, if I want to start gardening, I say everything you can get your hands on. Everything you get your hands on, stick in the ground. But in terms of easiest to grow, for me, trees are much easier to grow than vegetables in beds because
Mm,
trees are kind of set it and forget it.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. Oh, with that being said, Andre, speaking of trees, so my Pakistani standing mulberries, they're already look like they're starting to root. So I
Oh,
ordered some Pakistani standing mulberry cuttings from an online source, and I got about 12 of them. And I got them down in some soil. You have to love mulberries because they root so easy. So
they
if you
do.
really want a fast growing tree, now, now one thing I did find out about the Pakistani mulberry, it can get up to 30 feet tall. So make sure you prune it heavily in the fall.
Yeah.
But that is one fast growing tree. It's already, and I've only had them for like about 2 weeks now, and they're already starting to root.
I'll tell you what, I have now experienced so many different varieties of mulberry now that I feel like I am done with Pakistani. Sorry. So I tasted a Shangri-La, a Thai green, um, the world's best. Um, I tried all those today. I went and did a farm tour, and the Shangri-La is mind blowing. It's so freaking good. Like the Shangri-La,
Lives up to the name.
like I just and I got some cuttings. I've got three cuttings in pots right now, and the rest of the branches I cut up and I grafted onto my everbearing mulberry. So I'm gonna try to grow those. Oh my goodness! Like I don't get me wrong, the Pakistanis are good. They're so much better than an everbearing because the everbearing is so tiny and the Pakistanis are big. But I didn't realize there were that many varieties of mulberries. And the green, the Thai green is like this long.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. And there's no tartness at all. It's like straight sugar.
Mm.
Insane. It's insane.
Mm.
Yeah. See, you're gonna become the mulberry king of Florida. I love it.
Now I'm way behind. There's guys that got so many trees already. I'll never become the mulberry king. That's for sure. Now someone asked about worms and guava. You know, the solution that I heard from a friend of mine is you have to eat them in the dark. That solves the problem.
I get it there. Problem solved.
You just eat them in the dark. No worms. You'll never get a worm ever.
Oh
Uh,
God.
Exotic and medicinal trees. A great place is A Natural Farm. They ship all over the country. If you're local to Central Florida, I can tell you about the nurseries here. We have Waz Nursery in Apopka. It's HOA Nursery. We have. I was just at the Reed Farm today in DeLand. In St. Cloud, there's Nick's Edibles. There's Julie's Tropical Fruits in Apopka. Um, I'm probably missing somebody, but those are kind of my main go-tos. Do you guys want to give shout outs to your nurseries that you go to?
Go for it, Derek.
I don't go to a lot of fruit tree nurseries, but when it comes to like places I do get plants that are fruiting or edible or whatever, I go to Gunter's Greenhouse in Durham. Beautiful place in North Carolina. I've been to the Raleigh Farmers Market, the one that's on the Centennial campus at NC State. Go Wolfpack, boom boom. And I'm trying to think who else do I get vegetation from. There's sometimes where I've gotten stuff from community gardens,
But
like
it
Briggs
doesn't have to be
Avenue
food
Community
plants,
Garden.
right? Like where do you get your ornamental plants? Like where's your best place to get your
A
ornamentals?
lot of stuff I've gotten, people just send to me now. They send it to me and they be like, Derek, I want you to try these seeds. So I planted some seeds earlier today of like ornamentals. There are some things I got from Walmart. I know big box store was terrible, but I got some stuff, at the end of the season, they just gonna throw a lot of this stuff away. So they just give it for a discount. And I felt like at one point that I had to buy every bulb to save them all. And I would go and buy, and I have so many bulbs. If I could go right now, I could landscape this whole neighborhood and then some with all the bulbs I have in one room. And this is every season. I'm not just talking one season. Every season, there'll be something different, edibles or all the stuff. But I got a bunch of Asian lilies, Asiatic lilies, and there's one like Forever Susan. It's black with an orange center, and
Ooh,
it is like beautiful. Have a video of it. I'll send it to y'all. But
please.
it is gorgeous. So my ornamentals I still get from a Gunter's or the State Farmers Market or friends. Like it's nice to have friends who just give you stuff.
Hey, you know what? I'm glad you said that because one of my friends, like one of my best friends, he's like a couple of blocks away from me. He always calls me up with these most ambitious things. Like, hey, I'm growing such and such. I'm gonna bring you a couple of cuttings over. I'm gonna bring you some seeds over. So whatever crazy outlandish thing he's growing, I'm usually growing it too because he shares, and it's good to have
Mm,
friends that share.
it is.
But I just want to let you know that we are cut from the same cloth because I save and rescue plants from Walmart all the time. I'm like, oh no, you need some water. You need to come in this basket. You need to come home with me. I'll take care of you.
I'm
All
here
right,
for
somebody
it.
asked a serious question here. How do you get rid of the white powdery mildew that's growing all over my cucumber leaves?
You take the cucumbers, you set them on fire. No, you there are different pesticides you can do, but I think with white powdery mildew, I've heard milk, but I've not used it. I usually try to focus on situations because like powdery mildew, maybe it's too moist. It may be in a shady situation. I haven't been able to see the comments for like 10 minutes. So if they're telling me what their stuff is, I haven't been able to see them for 10 minutes. But at one point I was good and then I just couldn't see them anymore. So it's something I'd
Okay.
probably have to leave and come back, but I don't feel like doing it. So, that's what I would suggest. Basically, figuring out what situation you have that's encouraging
Mhm.
the white powdery mildew, and then going from there and just being sure to clean your tools after all the uses, either with a 10% bleach solution or with like some peroxide.
Yeah. Well,
Now, I've heard of the milk too. I haven't implemented it yet because apparently it's the lactates that's in the milk that will kill the powdery mildew, and I believe it will work on the gray mildew as well. But
Mhm.
I haven't tested it out personally. Now, what I like to do with powdery mildew, because last season I had a bunch of it, because in April we got like heavy rains and it was constantly humid. So what I do is I mix baking soda, 1 tablespoon of baking soda to 1 gallon of water, and I just make a solution out of that, and I spray that on, and that makes a mild fungicide that'll actually knock out the powdery mildew. That's
Yeah,
what
that
I
makes
use.
sense.
okay. Cool. 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 Now, someone mentioned another place that I've heard about too is called Eat Your Yard. It's in Jacksonville. For those people in that area there, I want to make a trip up there. I will be making a trip up there eventually. Let's see. What other questions do we have, guys? Green's Nursery in Apopka. That is another one, Carol. Yes. Uh, hey, Birmingham, what's up? Hold on.
Yeah.
Someone said, I love the Silver Mound. It's a perennial. Silver Mound. Have you guys heard of that?
Silver mile, perennial.
I'm not
I love
familiar.
perennials and native plants, so I love it. I don't know what it is, but I think I need to grow it.
We started Seed Saving Collective. We started Seed Saving Collective to share with people. That is awesome.
Awesome.
Yes, Seed Saving Collective, Black Seed Saving Collective in the Trenton, North Carolina area is a beautiful passion project of a friend of mine named Josie Walker, who has basically been a true spearheader, if you will, of saving not just seeds in general, but especially special heirlooms like those of the collard projects that are, again, heirlooms that are either lost, thought to be lost, have been lost, or heirlooms that were never recognized, that were just things that we as Black folks grew. So that is a beautiful collective of her doing that work to basically keep seeds and provide them to people for often free.
That is
Wow,
awesome.
that is.
Liquid
That
soap and baking soda. I guess the soap is the what do you call it? The
Like an adhesive.
adhesive.
surfactant. The surfactant. In that. How do you get rid of powdery mildew? Okay, we answered that already. Do you prune? Do you prune new nectarine trees? If so, how many branches are desired? I think when you're shipping a young tree, it really depends on the tree. In bonsai, there's sort of a rule of odds, like odd numbers. So I'm a big fan of my tree having like 3 main branches or 5 main branches, but I kind of don't like 4 and I don't like 2.
Yeah, I'm the same way when it comes to pruning. I'm more about following the odd numbers as well. So yeah, I'm tracking with you. And plus, now this is another thing, and I know you and I disagree about this, Andre, because Andre will chop and just cut away at a tree. But when I'm pruning, my Texas master gardeners, one thing we always talked about is that do no more than a third of the tree when pruning, because it's trauma, you know.
Yeah, I've heard that before in some of my horticultural
I will cut
classes.
a tree in half. I will cut its head off. Um, yeah, like listen, I had an avocado, and it was a stick. I think it was probably a seedling. I don't know. I got it from a nursery, and it was a stick. It was 10 feet tall, and it was just had one branch going straight up. I cut that thing down to about 4 feet tall, and it was naked. It was just a stick. And now, if you see that tree, it's full. It's a full tree 3 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe I've seen it, but that's still drastic.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But the other thing too is I never my one of my rules in life is never get attached to things. And I realize all these trees are things. And the difference between a good gardener and a great gardener's killed way more plants. So plants are gonna die. You have to come to grips with that. You have to come to grips with that. And if a tree is struggling or it's not a good tree, then sometimes it dying is putting it out of its misery, and so
Right.
sometimes I'll do a hard reset on a tree because I know the tree can't function as it is right now, so it's as good as dead already. So I'll do a hard reset. If it makes it, it makes it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if it makes it, it's going to be a much better tree. It's
It's
very
gonna be
useful.
stronger for it.
That's true.
No.
That's true.
Oh, what's the
No.
name of that heirloom company again? I think Derek. I think they were asking you that. The Black Heirloom Company.
Black Seed Saving Collective. There we go. That's the name of those people. And then again, I've gotten some loofah seeds from them at a seed swap they had in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It was at a beautiful property, but it was in the middle of nowhere, Jacksonville. My signal on my phone was like, "Where are you at?" I think they was like, "Can you go live?" And I was like, "I can't even. My phone is like, we don't even know what to do right now. Phone forgot how to work phone." But they again had these beautiful seeds. Now, I don't know if she does shipping, but if you just go to Black Seed Saving Collective, I'm sure she'll, throw the ad and the name or something up.
Mhm.
Then you'll be able to, hit her up, throw her some money. She does consulting, help out black businesses during this time, help the people.
All right. And so Jimmy had a question about a peach tree. He
Mm.
wants to ask a question about peach tree. Ask your question, Jimmy. Go ahead. And if you guys have a question, don't ask to ask a question. Just ask the question.
That's
Not
what we're here
asking to
for.
ask a question. You can I ask a question? You already did. You already did that.
Birmingham says green blood on your thumbs equals a green thumb.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see.
What
All
was
right,
the
if there's more peaches on one branch, how many should I keep? Well, I'll tell you what, I believe in culling the peaches. Like if you have like a lot, especially like in a cluster, then I like to only have like one in each cluster. There can be multiples on a branch, but I don't like to have like a little ball of like three or two right on each other. You'll get bigger peaches. Now, if you just want peaches that just taste good and you're cool with whatever size they come out, then you leave them.
Yeah. Or and plus you got to see what the branch is going to be able to support too. Like if
Mm.
it's a fairly young branch and you have too many peaches on there, you might need to cull it for just the weight and saving that branch.
Yep. And a lot of times they'll drop the fruit that they can't really support too. Please type the name of that company, the Black Seed Collective. What is it?
Seed Saving Collective. Hopefully, y'all be able to see this because again, I can't see any
I don't
comments.
know.
Boom.
Oh, dang! You know what? I
I
think I
could.
just figured out how to make a comment. I was the whole time I was like, I would like click on somebody's name and think like I could respond to them, but there was nowhere for me to reply, and I just saw the comment box on the
You
bottom.
know,
Do you
that is
have
wild to
do
me
I have to put
because
at somebody if I comment though? Do I have to
you could
type
just because
at?
even if you do the ad, it won't tag them. But because this isn't, there used to be an app. I think it was Periscope where you could tag people, but you can't do that here. But it was sending me a little bit. I was trying not to judge you because I said that is so adorable that he has a piece of paper and he's writing down all these questions. You were furiously scribbling. You're furiously scribbling, and I just see you down there like,
Listen, I'm
uh,
20
uh.
years older. I could be your dad. I'm 20
You
years older
could
than you,
be.
so.
Well, I mean, me and you have talked
So-
more than me and my daddy, so you couldn't be him. But but I say it sent me. It sent
Listen,
me
you
up the
should
ladder to the
you
roof.
should see how much stuff I write down, and people like laugh at it because like we do the fishing trip and I have like this piece of paper with everyone's name written down on it, whether they paid or didn't pay, and all this stuff on there.
Are you one of these people that just get envelopes and you're just writing on random envelopes, writing notes?
Oh,
Hey, I do that.
this is
Nothing wrong with
random
that.
paper that was just sort of lying
I
around
follow.
here.
So
It's
that's
already
what
been
it is.
printed on up here,
Mm,
but it was like spare, so I'm
mm,
gonna write on
I love that. I love us for real. That is so dope.
it.
Right on.
All
Hmm.
right, let's see. I'm looking for the next question. What would be the worst plant I can plant to take over a garden?
Mint.
Depends on where you are, because the things you're going to say are things that don't grow in my garden, probably. Because you're going to say like mint, right?
I did. I
Yep.
actually said mint. And you said that doesn't take over your
I
garden,
can
right?
plant mint in my garden right now, and in 2 years, I guarantee you won't be able to find it. It'll be gone.
That's
I think
amazing.
some
Meanwhile,
eating your mint.
yeah,
No,
somebody's eating your mint. You have some
nobody's eating
drunk
the
coming
mint.
over,
Nobody's eating the mint.
some
Nobody's
drunk
eating the
coming
mint.
over with a mojito. Like, yeah, this is good. He keep doing this. He's gonna keep making all these mint juleps
There's
being made
straws
behind your
down
back.
there and little umbrellas and
Yes,
stuff. Yeah.
they wander in with their glass. They take all your mint and wander out. You never see them.
What do y'all have? Don't y'all have a lot of dollar weed out there in Florida too?
Oh my God. I had like dollarweed in my beds right now that it's like impossible to get. I would have to empty out all the soil to get rid of it. It's impossible to get rid of it. But it's edible. Dollarweed is actually edible. I'm not gonna eat it, but it's edible.
True. Well, true. Just like nasturtiums too. So something else to take over your garden bed. And I mean, if you are a fan of flowers, nasturtium is a great one to
Mhm.
actually just let it take over because it's a great trap crop as
Yep.
well. Because a lot of the pests, it's almost like the chicken of plants. Everything eats it, right? Oh, yeah. If you want something to take over nasturtium, because honestly, unchecked, it will pollinate into every bed you have.
I, I would love it for it to be nasturtium instead of dollarweed. I would definitely take that trade. Somebody said bamboo. Now listen, bamboo gets a bad rap, and I think I figured out part of the reason why. Because I think that most non-tropical bamboo is invasive, but tropical varieties, there's like 20, 30 varieties that you can grow in Florida that are not invasive at all. They live,
Mm.
they're clumping, they stay right in one spot. But I just think that it's the ones that are like in the North Carolinas and the Georgias. I think those varieties are the ones that are somewhat invasive. So people just think that all bamboo is invasive.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it was that initial Chinese bamboo that really got that, that the invasive and made us kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to bamboo. But bamboo, I mean, it's resilient. I was telling a neighbor that lives not too far away from here. He has all this clumping bamboo that grows by his creek. I was like, man, you need to let me come over here and cut some of that bamboo because guess what? That will make a fantastic garden trellis.
Yep.
It would.
Take some twine
I
in that
use it in my
bamboo.
garden. Yeah,
Yeah.
I use it in my garden all the time. I just walk over, cut bamboo, and make whatever I want to make. Someone else asked, said their rose is being eaten. Any suggestions on the rose being eaten? Like, I've never grown roses, so I don't know.
Are you seeing a bunch of, they would have to comment, are they seeing a bunch of beetles? Because if it are, could be Asian beetles, and they will dine on your roses like it is the 4th of July. They will go like, if the gold, remember the Golden Corral when it used to be delicious? They will do like that to your roses. And the best way, there are a couple of sprays and pesticides you can get to treat your roses, but you have to start early and you have to start often. I can't remember the name. One of them was like a BT spray,
Mm.
Bacillus thuringiensis, that I used, I believe. There's a couple of other ones that I've seen, but I can't remember the names of. But you're going to be looking to treat Asian beetles or Japanese beetles. They're beetles from somewhere in Asia. I can't remember the name of it right now. And they are just terrible little demons that just literally will swarm your roses and eat everything, holes everywhere.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm old enough to remember a point where Golden Corral was awesome, but
Oh, excuse me. You know, some people got bougie taste. My simple New Bern taste, it was delicious to me. I used to love the biscuits and the Bourbon Street chicken.
yeah,
That's what I
no,
went in there for.
I'm not gonna lie. I've only been there like once. I tell you what, I think if I was single, I would have gone more
You
times.
would have
I would have
gone more.
gone more times, but
Ah,
my wife's not going to Golden Corral.
there you go. That's the reason. You see now. Blame
I
her.
could
It's okay.
not even suggest that.
She's not even here to defend herself. It's okay.
No, no.
Now,
But
somebody mentioned in the comments about using neem oil on roses. I just want to say this: while neem oil can be great, just make sure when you're using neem oil, make sure you're using it in either the early mornings or the late afternoons because
Oh
neem
God.
oil is an oil, and that goes for any one of your oil-based pesticide, herbicide, so forth. Anything that's oil-based, if it gets direct contact with the sun, it's going to cook your leaves, your stems, and your petals. So make sure you're doing it in the early morning so you don't get that direct sunlight. That's all I'm gonna say there.
Exactly. And with some of these oils, I know people will sometimes refer to using oil, something that seems like natural and organic versus a pesticide. But some of these pesticides are more effective.
right,
And it just depends on like how much you're willing to fight. If you're willing to go out there every other day at a certain time and apply neem oil all the time, phenomenal, go for that. But for those who are like, hey, I'm working, I'm trying to balance this, I'm trying to balance that, some of these pesticides, which BT is organic, but some of these pesticides are also assist or appropriate and helpful as well.
right. And also, if it's for roses and you're not planning on eating those roses, you can go to town on it. You know, you can be a little more aggressive sometimes too. Oh, the yeast rolls at Golden Corral are
They
amazing.
was. Oh
All
my
right.
God. I tell you, they was the bomb.
Yeah, I feel like I need to give it another chance. Like if I have like a guys trip and the guys come down here, maybe we'll all make a trip over to Golden Canal and see what's what.
I hope
See what's
so.
what. See if it's really as bad as I remember. I'll tell you what's really really bad. Because I grew up in Canada, and we had Ponderosa in Canada, and I remember as a kid, like it was a treat to go to Ponderosa. We came down here to Florida, and we went to a Ponderosa, and when I tell you that was 20 years ago, and I still remember how disgusting. Well, is Ponderosa still exist? Is it still a place?
I've never even heard of that
Never
before.
heard of it.
You never heard of Ponderosa?
Nope.
I've never heard of a Ponderosa. They don't have them around here in North Carolina.
Oh shit, we call it Ponderosa now. Well, anyways, I guess they won't be coming after me, I guess. But sorry.
They don't exist
So anyway,
anymore.
someone asked me about moles. I don't have really moles as an issue here, but does anybody else deal with moles?
I haven't dealt with them personally, but I've given a lot of advice on moles. When it comes to moles, and honestly, this is one of those things you have to kind of have. You got to have that X-ray vision. You got to have that psychic friends hotline, because what you have to do with your raised beds and so forth is you need to put down like a mechanical barrier, like chicken wire, like cattle panel or something like that, to stop those moles and voles from being able to penetrate through. But it's one of those things. It's like hindsight is 2020. You have to know that you have them in your area to put it down beforehand.
Right.
Other than that, actually, my friends over at Epic Gardening, Jock, just put out a video about dealing with some voles in his garden, and he actually did have to use a vole trap. He did not show it because he didn't want to show it killing it, because a trap will kill it. What you do is when you find the hole, you put the trap down in the hole, and it will catch the vole and right around its neck,
Oh,
and it will take care of the problem.
oh no, it's rolling with
Yeah.
Jesus
So
now.
so so in advance, if you're in an area where there's moles, you got to have a lining under your bed. It hasn't been an issue for me, but I've seen people where like all their carrots are just missing. There's just holes where the carrots used to be.
Oh
So
goodness.
Mhm.
now, hey Dre, should I plant in Florida soil or keep my trees in pots? I like to put my trees in the ground, more so than pots, unless you're planning on moving or something like that. Mango trees do like sandy soil, so
What?
mango trees do very well in Florida soil. I amend the soil in the hole where I'm planting the plant, but other than that, they're on their own, and most of the trees do perfectly fine here in Florida.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let's see, there's a lot of questions here, guys. Does anyone have any suggestions for spider mites? They are the bane of my existence.
They're the bane of mine too. You take some lighter fluid. Follow me on this. You take some lighter fluid. You cover the whole plant. You get like a couple of matches and a scented candle. You throw it all in, and then your spider mite problem is gone. So spider mites, I used what you shouldn't use inside, but I've used it before and I don't use it anymore because it is not beneficial to it hurts pollinators. Sevin, Sevin. I used a very hardcore thing inside. I had a banana plant that was beautiful. It was up to the ceiling in here. It used to be over there in that corner, God bless it. And I got spider mites from a friend because I was throwing away trash for her that was spider mite related, and it got in my car, got on me, got in the house. It was crazy how that went. In my future and my current, I've used neem oil and just like physically removing them. Alcohol and neem oil for them and mealy bugs.
Now, when you said physically remove them, how do you remove yours? You just say you take rubbing alcohol and spray it on, or are you wiping it down? How do you do it, Derek?
I'm wiping and removing because I want to try to get like any insects off with like spider mites and mealies and like any pest that can become like a true like what is the word I'm looking for where they just overrun you. They just become a
Infestation.
infestation. Thank you. It disappeared from me. I said he just said it earlier. Infestation. The biggest thing is you got to catch it early. So like there's some plants indoor and outdoor there where I will, I'm not necessarily looking at them heavily, but I will take a gander to see like, okay, what is this growing up here? Because insects, they want food, they want to live, they want to survive, right? It's just a problem when they're negatively impacting our plant's health. They're not necessarily caring about that. They're just trying to thrive and, listen to some Teddy Pendergrass. But for the rest
That's
of us,
me.
that's what they do it. So for the rest of us, we have to say, okay, let me catch it early. And if you can catch it early enough, sometimes you can like move them physically. For those of you who are grossed out with that, you get a hose, some horticultural soap, a good sprayer, and you can spray and physically remove them that way. For other people who are like, I don't want to touch no bugs, phenomenal. You can do that too.
All right.
And again,
Someone
there's
said
organic pesticides you can use.
they use alcohol and Q-tips.
Yeah, you can do that too. Or cotton ball. I usually have more of these. I don't keep Q-tips in my house anymore or cotton balls. So I keep old napkins from like
How do you
fashion
not have
places.
Q-tips?
I I don't use them in my ears because they say you're not supposed to.
I can't like get out of the shower and not use a Q-tip. I feel like there's water in my ear if I don't use a Q-tip. Like every single,
What do you do?
I
What are you doing?
literally.
Are you showering like this? Like how's the water getting in your
What do you mean, how's water goes into your ear when you're showering? Like how's it not go into your ear? Like don't
I
you wash
think
your head?
I think I know the answer to this. How tall are you, Andre?
I'm 6 feet.
I'm see you're taller than I thought. I'm 6'3". The shower, I unless I even when I wash
See,
my
you
hair,
right here.
even when I wash my hair, and I have a lot, this is a lot of hair, a lot of thick hair. I rarely ever have water in my ears. That is amazing.
No, but I have like a rainfall shower
Oh,
too.
see,
It's
this
like
is
two
why. You're
heads.
fancy. See, I just have a regular shower. I got a four-person shower. So that's why I don't have rain in my ears because I have a regular bro-person shower. You got that fancy thing probably making
Are you
ecosystem
saying that
sounds.
are you saying the garden hose doesn't hit you in
The
the head?
out of the nose never hits me in the head. You got sounds and tropical sounds when your shower goes, is what you're hearing. And this is why you got stuff in your ears. It's making sense now. So yeah, I don't have Q-tips. I used to only use them to pollinate plants, and now I have paint brushes that I use when I paint. When I'm not painting, I just use a paintbrush real
Like
quick.
literally, if I travel, like I am going to carry a toothbrush, floss, deodorant, and Q-tips. I have to have Q-tips. Like literally, I have to have Q-tips if I go anywhere.
All
Wowza.
right, so I got to say this. I stopped using Q-tips, and this is going to be all right with Sharon, right? I stopped using Q-tips because I actually got one stuck in my ear, and I had to go to the doctor. This was in my 20s, and then the doctor, he gave me a hard time. He was like, the smallest thing you should put in your ear, and he was like, your elbow. I was like, okay. And ever
Yeah,
since then, I just stopped using Q-tips. I just, I clean them out other
Right.
ways.
Yeah, I know that all you're doing is pushing the wax deeper and deeper in. I know that. But I just feel I gotta like just clean the water out and then I take it and I go around here too, because sometimes it's dirty in there.
yeah, that's great. I just when I'm washing, I take the washcloth and
Oh, you
I
rub
go
in your
around in
ears.
there. I just rub around in there briefly. Or again, when I'm washing my hair, I just feel like the mechanical action just does it. There's so much hair. There's so much hair. I have
I
so
don't have to
much hair.
worry about the hair thing very much. So
I think you
all
can do it.
We went down the whole rabbit hole.
I love it.
right. Listen, rabbit holes are going to be the best part of this podcast. Are going to be the rabbit holes. I'll tell you right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Speaking of rabbit holes, someone said that when you're putting that mesh underneath your bed, you want to be 12 to 15 inches outside of the bed to be bigger than the bed.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense.
that makes perfect sense. That's like with building a chicken coop. When I made my chicken run, I made sure that I was about 2 or 3 feet out because anything that could claw its way would try to claw when it's close by the run. So that logic makes total sense. I like it.
Let's see. Da, 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 da. Make sure I answer all these questions. If I.
Oh, we just had a shout out, Better Gardener.
All right, cool. Oh, someone. Oh, since Florida. Oh, would someone tell me about those bugs? They were in a cluster. They're in a cluster eating my collards. How to get rid of them? Well, once again, the companion planting is the way to try to prevent them from getting there in the first place.
Yeah, depending on what it is, you could use dipel dust, which is BT, Bacillus
Okay.
thuringiensis, and diatomaceous earth. You could use both of those.
So
And
I believe that the BT is really for like soft-bodied things, like the worms and your caterpillars and
To
such, right?
a certain extent, so BT basically is safe for human consumption. There's a guy I've seen at a cooperative extension like Garden Party, And old man, he was just like, I eat it every time I'm out there. And he just had like a handful of powders eating, like literally eating it. It was the wildest thing in the world. He's like, long as it's just pure BT, it's harmless.
Yeah, it's
But to
Bacillus
insects, yeah,
thuringiensis.
it's so to the insects, it pokes holes in them. So like soft-bodied or even some of the hard-bodied ones, it can impact them, but they just have to be able to ingest it.
Let me ask you a question. I
So
have BT spray. Does that need to be refrigerated, or how long can that last in a bottle? Because
it
it's
it should have an expiration date on the bottle. The problem is some of those expiration dates wipe off. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I don't believe in expiration dates when it comes to some of that stuff because I'm like, I bought it, dang it, and you're not going to tell me when I can use
right,
this. So
but it's a live thing though,
it is a
right?
live thing, and you should keep it like in a cool, dark place. But I don't always do that, and I still have good results. And I'm not telling you to just be renegades, people. This is my original page was the crazy botanist. That's my original content page. I was like, I do all types of stuff. I know the science behind it. I can make stuff work, and I do. But um, now I just get it in a powder form because it's more inert and lasts longer. But if you do get it in a liquid form, you are supposed to keep it in a cool,
Yeah,
dark place.
because I've had
And
mine sitting outside for like a year, and I'm like, I don't
mm,
know if this is just like oil spray now. I think if there's like, I don't know if there's anything in there
it's a bunch
anymore.
of cemeteries now. So yeah, usually all dark spray, and then the spray you make, you're supposed to like use within a certain time period, or else it smells
I'm
real
gonna get the
terrible.
powder because I got these little worms,
Mm-hmm.
little mini caterpillars that are all over my grapevines, my grape
Mm-hmm.
leaves right now. They on the young leaves, and they're just. Gave them the neem oil. I gave them the BT maybe. So I'm thinking I got to get the powder now.
Yeah, you get the powdered dipel dust. I've had some for years, like diatomaceous earth and dipel, especially for those of us who are like financially insecure. You can get some of these things with your friends, and you don't need to go aggy on it. You don't need to just cover everything in dust like it's Breaking Bad, but you can just use a little, just enough, an old
Yeah,
sock, a little spray, a little shake, I should say,
yeah,
a light misting, and then you go from there.
yeah.
You know, and I'm glad you mentioned that about financially insecure. You know, you don't have to always go to the big box stores to get this stuff. Sometimes going to like a feed store, because think about it, farmers, ranchers,
That's
they're
true.
using this stuff too, and it's the same exact active ingredients, and it's a heck of a lot cheaper. I mean, I went and bought like I want to say this was about a cubic foot bag for like $5 of diatomaceous earth
Ooh.
for my local feed store. So yeah, check out your local
Yeah.
feed stores because you can get way better pricing.
That's great advice. There's a good question here. Growing okra, I enjoy eating the okra leaves right
Mm.
off the plants in my garden. I was told I'm going to be sick in 4 years later. That doesn't even make any sense at
Hmm.
all.
I
I mean, they are hard. I haven't eaten the leaves. I eat my okra raw sometimes. I do freeze and cook and make gumbo and etouffee and so forth. But the leaves are kind of hard. But hey, if it's worked for you and it's
Yeah.
not tearing up your stomach, go
Yeah.
for it.
Like if it's that hard, it's probably very fibrous and it'll probably pass right through you. Um, yeah, you're not.
I,
I don't think you'll be sick from the okra leaves you ate 4 years ago.
oh yeah, definitely not 4 years ago. It's already out of your body. I didn't know you could eat okra leaves, but would have been like immediate.
Let's see. Yeah, cooking them probably makes them easier to eat. Probably yes.
Yeah.
So I figured we have to have some sort of time limit on this whole thing. So I was thinking that it should be an hour and a half podcast, and like 9:30 is like our cutoff. So how do you guys feel about that? Like we didn't even talk about that.
We did.
We did, and
We're just gonna do this all night
I was
long,
like,
but
it's gonna be midnight before we get off of here.
yeah,
I think an
um,
hour and a half is decent. Depends on. So are we doing these weekly?
yeah, every week,
So,
every Monday.
so if we do it an hour and a half, I think that's a good time. But I think if we did it closer to a hot hour, I think that would be more beneficial. But that's just me.
Okay, all right, all right.
I
So the
I
initial one is an hour and a half. Going forward, there will be an hour.
I
yeah,
mean,
I
great
like it.
because
Yeah, I like it because I mean, think about like a television show. Usually you get like an hour long show with commercials or 30 minutes. So I like that hour block. It works in my brain better that way.
All right. All right, so it's gonna be from 8 till 9 going forward, guys. We got about 10 minutes left, guys. So any questions you have, hold on, I see a question right there. I'm growing lettuce, sunflowers, and tomatoes under a grow light successfully. When can I put them outside? Where do you live? It says the name says London, so I don't know if you live in England or that's just your name. But it depends on where you live. Like if you live in Florida, you could have put them outside a long time ago. If you live in, the North Pole, then you gotta wait.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I like that comment though when P. Frisch said that do they have their true leaves yet? But yeah, it really is going to depend on your climate first and foremost. When you can really put them out. Oh, Virginia.
Oh yeah, you can put them out now then, because you're in my pretty much depending on what part of Virginia you're in, Arizona to me. But you need to harden them off because if you've been growing them under grow lights, and depends on if you've had them on a heating mat, because I'm surrounded. Y'all can't tell this. It was dark when we first started in this room, and then I cut my camera off and came back. It was magically light. I have my stage light up here, but I have grow lights all over this apartment. I believe in a grow light, and to
no,
put them
no,
outside after you've had them under a grow light, under a heating mat, depending on, you need some time to like harden them off where you set them out for a couple of days, bring them back in, set them out for a couple of days, bring them back in. I don't always do that. I'm telling you to do that. I never do that, but you should.
now let me tell you what. The two things I've said. One is I think that's very tedious and hard to do. So what I do is I'll take something to harden off and I'll put it outside, but I'll put it in a shady area.
That's
And
smart.
then like a couple of days later, I'll put it in an area that has a little bit more sun
Mm-hmm.
or a little less shade. And I'll just do that because the whole move it in for an hour, then in for 4 hours, move it in, I feel like that is really
But
tedious.
but you know what, Andre? I mean, you're still doing the same process. It's still the hardening off process. It's just a different way of
Yeah.
doing it.
Exactly.
But essentially, you're slowly introducing it to a new climate. So that's what it's really about. It's
Yeah.
just not that drastic change.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, someone said, ask, the other thing I want to say is would a sunflower need to be hardened off, or would a sunflower just be like, yay, more sun?
Sunflowers don't like to be transplanted, from what I've heard. So you typically just bite the bullet and just do those outdoors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some people I've been able to transplant them kind of, but they're not really like fanciful for that. So I've just planted them outdoors.
Okay.
And I've done it too, So I've started some as starts before, but they're because they're nitrogen fixers. They don't like their roots really being disturbed, and
Okay.
so when you're transplanting, you can shock and stunt their growth, or they might die completely. So I've done starts that have been successful,
Right.
but then I'm also, for the most part, I just don't go directly in the soil. I just throw a handful of sunflower seeds out there, see what grows, see what the birds eat.
Right. And sunflowers grow so fast that you probably don't need a head start by starting them inside. You know, someone asked, "Is this going to be saved? Is this whole thing going to be saved somewhere so people can watch this?"
Oh God, I hope so.
Yes, that means you have to download it, Andre.
Well, I mean, if he downloads it or you just instead of like just Xing out and it ends and it disappears, you just leave it up and make all of us collaborators. Ooh,
I
his
don't
eyes
know how
got so
to.
big.
I don't know how to do any of
It's
that.
okay. Derek can walk you through it after this. I think I gave you my number.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, like he's saying, just hit that share button instead of just delete. Hit the share button, and then that way
Yeah,
it'll stay in
Okay.
the bank.
and it'll
Okay.
turn into like a post, and you could just type a basic comment or
You
a
know what?
basic
That's
caption.
what I'll do. That's what I'll do. I just hope it's not too long that it just is too long to download, sort of
Oh
thing.
no, it won't download to your phone. It'll just be like on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like
Okay. Okay. Cool. I'll do that. So it will be posted. I'll post it on my page, and then I'll tag you guys or collaborate with you guys on it, so you guys can all have it on your page as well. Is it okay to grow citrus from seed, or better to propagate? It is definitely better to propagate, and I'll give you an example of why. Beside me is an old orange grove, and in it is a bunch of sour oranges with lots and lots of seeds. Now, there was never an orange grove that was full of orange trees with lots and lots of seeds that were sour. But what's happened is a lot of these trees have broken off, or a lot of these trees have laid seeds down, and new trees have grown up that are seedlings. Some have broken off and grown back from below the graft point to where the seedling is. And when you plant from seed, a lot of times you're going to end up getting a not as good fruit, and you're going to wait a long, long time to discover that it's not a good fruit. So you might wait 10 years and find a fruit that's just not particularly good. Laugh out. Where's Jake?
Jake. So Andre, speaking of growing from seed fruit trees, because I know the question was about citrus, but should we really be trying to grow our fruit trees from seed, or should we be trying to go with something grafted?
Um, if you want fruit that are predictable and not waiting 6 to 10 years, then you want to go grow grafted trees. Like whenever you go to a nursery to buy a tree, those are all grafted. Unless it's like unless it's like a papaya or a banana or so I think of things that are not grafted. Like most of your fruit trees are grafted. They're a hardwood tree, they're going to be
Yeah.
grafted, right?
Yeah.
And that's just to get predictability of fruit and to also get um, fruit faster. Like when you buy a grafted tree, you can get fruit that season or the next
Right.
season.
Right. And then plus, even when it comes to like soil conditions too, like I have a Georgia peach that I put on my property about 3, 4 years ago. And that Georgia peach, it's been grafted on to a Nemagard peach. And Nemagard peaches are used as a rootstock because it can take just about any kind of soil conditions, even clay.
Yep,
So that's another reason why you want to lean for the grafted.
exactly. And also, even when you do an air layer, like I do air layers, and people are like, "Oh, can I? Oh, my phone is about to die here."
Uh-oh.
People are like, forgot to plug it in the whole time. People are like, "Oh, can you send me an air layer?" I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to send you an air layer. An air layer is a great gift. Or they say, "Can I buy an air layer off?" I say, "Don't buy an air layer. Accept an air layer as a gift." But if you can get a grafted tree is so much better than an air layer tree because it's on a rootstock that is specifically sort of selected for the area that you're in or for the conditions or to be disease resistant or to be more vigorous. So you always want a grafted tree over an air layer tree. Air layers for like rare trees where you can't get a grafted tree or something like that. Well, we got a few more questions. We only got about 4 minutes left. My mom gave me a lemon tree grown from seed. When it finally fruited, it turned out to be a sweet big mandarin.
Wow. That's awesome.
All right, that's interesting. A lot of times people mix up seeds too. Growing from seed helps increase biodiversity. It does help increase biodiversity, but there's no shortage of biodiversity in any sort of commercial fruit that exists right now. Other than maybe bananas, but even that we have there's like hundreds of types of bananas, but like I'm sure the mango market is not looking for one more mango. Um, what trees have you guys sliced from that made good fruit? Um,
Slice from?
I think he means grafted. Like,
There we
like if
go.
it's grafted, it's already a known fruit. It's already a known good fruit that you're grafting. So the seedling would be the one that would make a fruit that may or may not be good.
Right. Yeah, because I
Can
actually
you
had
go
that
pineapple?
happen with a peach before.
Mhm.
I had a peach where the graft point died, and the only thing that survived was actually a shoot from the
Right.
rootstock. So I let it grow, but I plan to graft fruiting peaches onto that rootstock.
Yeah, that happened to my persimmon right now. I have a persimmon that did that, a Fuyu persimmon. There was another question here. Can you grow pineapple from seed? You can. It's the long, hard way to do it. Um, yes, you can. They do have seeds. Okay. We got like 2 minutes left, guys. Someone said, wait, getting my question. You should have asked the question. I'm behind on the question. Hazelnut. Anyone ever grown a hazelnut? I don't even know if hazelnuts can grow in the United States. I've never seen a tree.
I haven't either, and honestly, truth be told, I cannot stand the flavor of hazelnut.
Really? Like in chocolate and stuff like that? What about Nutella?
No,
Nutella?
get
I
that
don't
out of here.
I don't even
Let's
remember if
use
I
What?
ever
regular
had
peanut butter.
Nutella.
All right. Like when like FBI and stuff like says like you see something, say something. I feel this is like a see something, say something moment. Like there's something wrong with this guy. Nutella? How do you not like Nutella?
I don't
Nope,
even
get
know if
it
I've
out of
ever
here.
had
Like I
that.
feel like I have
Get
to
it away.
report this to somebody. Because if something happens, they're gonna be like, "You knew he didn't like Nutella."
That was your sign in. Red flag.
How could you not like Nutella? It's so delicious. I don't even buy Nutella because literally I would eat it out of the jar all day if I had it in my house. I haven't had Nutella in probably like 20 years. Like I just don't even want it around me.
No,
So
they
good.
said hazelnut coffee. Don't mess up a good cup of coffee with hazelnut.
Oh, thank you guys. for all the kind words, recommendations for a leachy fertilizer. I just use Epsom salt and chop and drop other plants around it.
Yeah.
Um,
Chop and
but
drop is great.
guys, if you enjoyed that, we will be back here next week on Monday. I'll be doing it from Mexico. I'm going to be in Mexico, so I'll be doing it from there. Our time I think is 1 hour different over there, but we'll make sure that we coordinate it and
Yeah,
get it
because you're
right.
gonna be on my time
Oh,
zone then. You're gonna be on
I
Central.
look at
think I will be on
me.
your time zone. All right, all right. Um, let's see. Any guys got any parting words?
Hey, this has been fantastic. Come see us every Monday. If you like this, there'll be more of it. And share with your friends because the more the merrier. And we are here to help.
Ditto. Make sure you invite your friends, tell the people. This is like a TV show. You can tune in and watch us live, and you can get a lot of great information for free 99. We ain't charging you a fee, and that's what I like to tell people. I give a lot of information out for free, and I may stop that one day, but at least right now, you are getting a lot of great information from people with just decades, I'm sure, amongst all three of us of growing experience. So please take advantage of it.
All right, guys. I just have to. I can't let this go. Someone said, "Man who doesn't like pickles doesn't understand how people don't like Nutella." Like, are you really comparing pickles to
Wait a
Nutella?
minute, you don't
Yes,
like pickles?
he does it.
No,
Oh
no.
my God, get in this live right now. You don't like pickles? I eat a sweet gherkin. I used to, what are you, 5? I eat the pickles off of a
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A sandwich. Like my God.
no.
See
Not even a
that
pickle.
that
Not
at the
even a
top of
pickle.
the episode next Monday. Top of the episode, we're gonna talk about Andre and his dislike of pickles. That's next week's
All
episode.
right. We'll talk about foods. We'll talk about foods. All right, guys.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. I think it was a great show, guys. It was awesome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you guys for watching. Tell all your friends about it. Share it. It's going to be on my page. So if people want to watch it, they can come to my page and watch it. Follow all the guys. Take care. All right. See
Take
you
care,
guys. Bye.
guys.